holding a tablet that was written thousands of years ago and being able to read what it says. It's an amazing feeling.
If you see a cuneiform tablet for the first time, you're not likely to identify it as writing, and you certainly wouldn't know which way up it went.
1,500 meters beneath a mountain in Central Asia, a Soviet geologist named Viktor Yelyanenko stands in front of a stone archway that should not exist. The walls of the chamber are limestone, raw and natural. The archway is not. Its edges are cut, its blocks are fitted. The cuneiform glyph carved across its surface is repeated again and again, the same character pressed into stone over and over. And the character is Sumerian, 4,000 years old. The word it spells is the Sumerian name for the underworld. Behind the archway, his team aims their sonar into the dark and waits for the return pings. Nothing comes back. They recalibrate. They try again.
Once cuneiform was deciphered, lots of unexpected things came to light, but probably none which had greater impact than the discovery by George Smith in 1872.
The echoes simply do not return, and the only reason any of them are standing 1,500 meters beneath a mountain in the middle of Central Asia is because a clay tablet excavated from the ruins of an Iraqi city told them exactly where to look. The tablet in the vault. The tablet is cataloged as K.3657. A near-identical copy sits in a museum vault in Istanbul. It was pulled out of the ruins of Nippur, one of the oldest cities in southern Mesopotamia, dated to roughly 2,400 BCE. Most visitors walk past these tablets without a second glance. What makes K.3657 different is what it claims to describe. The Sumerians had a word for the place beneath the surface. They called it Kur. Kur was not the underworld of the dead. It was not hell.
Sumerian tablets are probably one of the oldest form of written record that we have. They've been translated, and they tell exciting stories about how gods intermingled with human beings and actually had a hand in the creation of human beings.
It was not a metaphor. According to the tablet, Kur was a physical location, a place of great waters, eternal darkness broken by luminous stones, a sky that curved downward instead of upward. The Anunnaki, the gods of Sumerian religion, came from Kur before ascending into the heavens. Scholars dismissed it as poetry. Then a researcher at the University of Pennsylvania noticed the Sumerian word translated as swallowed could just as easily mean enters. The mountain where the sun is swallowed was not a sunset metaphor. It was a description of a mountain with an opening large enough for sunlight to penetrate deep inside. The other phrases stop sounding like poetry once you read them as directions.
What we're looking at here is a Sumerian tablet that actually shows the tree of life, flanked by divine beings. You can see here the Anunnaki on each side.
A river that flows backward into stone. 7 days' journey from the land where bronze is born. Coordinates. The coordinates match one place. Bronze is copper and tin. Mesopotamia had copper. Tin had to come from somewhere else. The nearest major tin sources in the ancient world sat in Central Asia, in the regions we now call Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, and Western China. Long before the Silk Road, Sumerian merchants ran a trade network archaeologists call the Tin Road. Clay tablets from the city of Ur describe expeditions lasting months through what they called the lands of many mountains. Documented journeys with navigation landmarks recorded in detail. A 7-day march from the Bronze Age production centers of ancient Bactria lands you in one place. The Fergana Valley, sprawling across modern-day Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, major bronze production center, sat on the documented tin trade routes, and it contains a cave system that matches every other line on the tablet.
Sumerians, Babylonians, all those people, they wrote on clay. That was their natural activity. And clay tablets, which have impressions of writing on, are pretty good. They're pretty stable. You can handle them. You can't play football with them, but they're pretty reliable.
The locals call it Kani Gut. The name translates roughly as the lost mine. Tajik folklore has another name for it, the Gateway Cave. The entrance sits at the base of a mountain where, due to the specific angle and orientation, sunlight pours deep into the cave network during summer solstice, the mountain where the sun enters. Inside, an underground river runs through the system. Tidal pressure from a massive subterranean lake forces the river to reverse direction twice every day. The river that flows backward, The cave walls are studded with selenite crystals and fluorite deposits that glow in the dark, creating what early explorers called a sky of stars beneath the earth. A 2019 study published in Nature analyzed DNA from populations across Central and East Asia and found a sharp population bottleneck in the Tian Shan mountain range around 2400 BCE. The same year the tablet was carved. The diversity did not disappear, it shifted. As if a portion of the population walked into something and a different portion walked back out generations later. Modern Fergana Valley villages near Kani Gut still carry genetic markers that match ancient Mesopotamian DNA samples from Sumerian burial sites. Sumerian blood, 4,000 years later, concentrated around one specific cave. The Soviets go in. In the 1960s, Soviet geological surveys explored portions of Kani Gut. The mapped sections extended at least 14 kilometers underground. Sonar suggested it kept going. Acoustic tests revealed massive hollow chambers, some over 300 meters in height, deep inside the mountain. Then the surveys found the evidence that did not belong. Pottery shards dated to the Bronze Age, tool fragments, carved symbols on cave walls that matched no known local culture. The symbols were Sumerian cuneiform, carved into walls 1,500 meters underground, thousands of kilometers from Mesopotamia. The discovery was classified within months.
We can see that there were specific formulae that were used in the correspondence. As we start an email today by I hope all is well, they also started with specific formulae.
The Soviet government sealed the caves in 1967, citing geological instability. Declassified documents from the 1990s tell a different story. Excavation teams reported architectural structures in the deepest accessible chambers, walls of precisely cut stone, channels carved into the cave floor for water management, and in one chamber, what the report describes as a circular platform of unknown purpose, surrounded by Sumerian inscriptions. In 1998, shortly before his death, Yelyanenko gave an interview describing what his team found in the lowest accessible chamber. He remembers the moment they first see the archway. The lamps catch the cut edges. The team stops moving. Nobody speaks. They have been crawling through limestone for hours. The walls have been raw rock the entire time. And then they round a bend and there is masonry, manufactured, fitted, a doorway built by hands, carved with a single repeated symbol they do not recognize at first. One of the geologists has a notebook with him. He sketches the character. Months later, a philologist in Moscow identifies it. It is the Sumerian cuneiform glyph for cur. Beyond the archway, the chamber opens up. The team aims their sonar through the doorway. They wait. Nothing returns. They check the equipment. They aim again at a different angle. Still nothing. The pings travel out into the dark and never come home.
Was much more than a sort of general similarity with a boat and water and animals. It was in the same order, and there were many close points that compellingly showed that this same story had been current in Mesopotamia a millennium before the earliest date when the Hebrew text is likely to have come into existence.
They run seismic readings instead, listening for the echo of pressure waves traveling through the rock around the void, rather than across it. The echoes suggest the empty space extends kilometers in every direction, up, down, sideways. The chamber on the other side of the archway is too large for their equipment to find its edges. They are standing at the threshold of something the size of a small city, and they cannot see 10 meters into it. That is the chamber the Soviets sealed. That is what is sitting under the mountain in the Fergana Valley right now. If you want to see what's behind that archway before this channel covers the next layer of evidence, hit subscribe. The deeper part of this story is where the Soviet seal stops being the strangest thing about this site. The blood that remembers. The 2019 DNA study did not just find the population bottleneck, it found something stranger. The Mesopotamian markers in modern Fergana Valley populations are not spread along the old trade corridors. They are concentrated, specific villages, specific families, clustered around the entrance to Kani Gut. One of those villages is called Kaizeljar. Outsiders dismissed its traditions as folklore for decades. Every generation, certain families perform a ceremony at the cave entrance during summer solstice. The morning sun cuts across the valley. The families walk up the slope toward the mouth of Kani Gut, carrying offerings of bread, salt, and bronze. They enter the upper chambers in single file. The elders walk first. They stop at specific stones that other elders pointed out to them when they were children. Stones nobody has explained to them. Stones that have been the right stones for as long as anyone can remember. They lay the bread there, the salt, the bronze. Then they begin to recite. The phrases are long, spoken slowly. The cadence is liturgical. The villagers do not know what they mean. The language has been dead in their families for so many centuries that the words have become pure ritual. Sounds passed down from grandparent to child for 4,000 years. In 2015, a linguistic anthropologist recorded one of the ceremonies. The recordings went back to a university lab. The phrases were archaic Sumerian, prayers asking the dwellers of Kur for safe passage and blessings for the village. A village in Tajikistan, 4 millennia after the Sumerian civilization collapsed, still chanting Sumerian liturgy at the mouth of the cave their ancestors married into. None of them can translate a word of what they are saying. They just know the words have to be said. They just know the offerings have to be left. They just know nobody who skipped the ceremony came home well. The anthropologist asked one of the elders why they still do it. The elder said his grandfather told him, "The people who live under the mountain remember who fed them and who did not." The elder did not believe in people who live under the mountain. He still went up the slope every solstice. He still left the bread, the safety manual. The tablet describes Kur as a source of knowledge. The Anunnaki, it says, taught humans the secrets of the Earth's blood. Modern scholars read this as metallurgy, bronze technology, smelting, alloying, the kind of advanced technical knowledge that appears suddenly in Mesopotamia around 3000 BCE, without any clear developmental stages. One civilization is grinding copper. The next is producing precision bronze alloys with controlled tin ratios. Nothing in between. The tablet says the knowledge came from Kur. The cave system in the Fergana Valley sits on top of major copper and tin deposits. The tablet also describes something stranger. Stones that hold fire without burning. For centuries, this was treated as poetry. Then, archaeologists realized the Sumerians were probably describing petroleum. The Fergana Valley sits on top of one of Central Asia's richest oil deposits. Ancient travelers there would have encountered natural seeps, possibly inside cave systems where pressurized petroleum bubbled up through limestone fissures, pools of liquid that could be ignited and would burn for hours, fire that lived inside stone without consuming it. A Bronze Age miner watching that for the first time would not call it geology. He would call it a miracle. He would carve it into clay and ship the description back to Mesopotamia, and the priests would call it divine fire. Then there is the line that sounded like mysticism for 2 centuries. The journey to Kur, the tablet warns, requires purification of the blood before entry. Scholars assumed it meant ritual cleansing. A 2021 study on high-altitude cave systems suggested something else. Deep cave environments have radically different atmospheric compositions than surface air, higher carbon dioxide, different oxygen ratios, in some cases, elevated radon gas. Populations living at high altitudes develop specific genetic adaptations to process oxygen efficiently. The Fergana Valley sits between 1,000 and 3,000 meters of elevation. Modern populations there carry the EGLN1 and EPAS1 gene variants common in high-altitude adapted peoples. Ancient Mesopotamians living near sea level on the Tigris floodplains did not. A Sumerian crew traveling from the floodplains into the Tian Shan and then descending kilometers underground would suffer altitude sickness, hypoxia, possibly death. Headaches that turn into confusion. Confusion that turns into collapse. Collapse that does not recover. Purification of the blood was not metaphor. It was an instruction. Only certain bodies could make the journey. Only certain people could come back. The EGLN1 variant in modern Fergana Valley populations sits at concentrations higher than the surrounding regions, as if the people who could not adapt simply did not return. Selection pressure baked into the bloodline. 4,000 years of it. The tablet was never mythology. It was a safety manual. The 2018 expedition would prove it. The 2018 expedition. In 2018, a team of independent researchers attempted to access Kani Gut. The Soviet seals had degraded over 50 years. Local authorities, no longer bound by Cold War security protocols, granted limited access. The team brought geologists, archaeologists, and documentary filmmakers. They make it 2.4 kilometers into the system before the passage stops. The team's lead geologist sees it before anyone else. He is the one in front. He stops walking. The light from his headlamp steadies on the wall ahead. The rest of the team catches up, and they all see it at once. It is not a natural collapse. They know that immediately. Random rockfall does not look like this. The stones are placed, stacked, the edges are cut, the fitting is too clean. Someone built this wall on purpose to close the passage. Someone wanted the deeper part of the cave sealed off. They run ground-penetrating radar through it. The blockage reads at only 6 meters deep, 6 meters of placed stone, and then the cave system continues. They can see the empty space on the radar return, a continuation, hundreds of meters of unmapped passage on the other side of the wall. They cannot reach it. Without excavation equipment and proper permits, they cannot move a single stone. What they can document is what sits between the entrance and the wall: Bronze Age pottery, tool fragments, and on the cave walls, at roughly 800 meters in, Sumerian cuneiform inscriptions that directly reference K.3657. Same phrases, same descriptions of the journey into Kur. But these inscriptions carry additional details the museum tablet does not. Warnings, specific instructions about which passages to follow and which to avoid. Marks at junctions indicating the safe route. Marks at other junctions indicating the route nobody comes back from. References to the breath that steals life. Modern cavers recognize the phrase immediately. It is a warning about carbon dioxide pockets and oxygen-depleted zones common in deep cave systems. The Sumerians were not just describing the cave, they were teaching the next crew how to survive it. The Sumerians who walked into this mountain were not chasing gods. They were following a route. They were leaving instructions for the next crew. They were marking the dead air. The genetic evidence backs it. Not one expedition. Repeated journeys, generation after generation. Sumerian overseers and technical specialists establishing a semi-permanent presence. Intermarriage with local communities. Knowledge transfer. The development of village traditions that preserve both the practical aspects and the religious significance. The bread, salt, and bronze offerings the Kazil jar villagers leave at the cave entrance every summer, solstice, are not mystical. They are symbolic of the resources that sustained the original mining and exploration crews. Bread for food, salt for preservation, bronze to demonstrate metalworking skill. The Sumerian prayers were probably work songs, safety checklists, crew coordination phrases. 4,000 years of repetition turned them into liturgy. The skeptical version of all this is straightforward. Bronze Age miners found a rich deposit, built infrastructure to extract it, left their inscriptions, and the rest is folklore. Maybe. But that explanation does not account for the void Yelyanenko's team detected. It does not account for the deliberate stone wall someone placed to block further access. And it does not account for the fact that every modern attempt to find out has been quietly, systematically delayed. What the map still points to. The Uzbek and Tajik governments have shown little interest in funding further exploration. The region is remote, politically complicated. The potential archaeological significance in their assessment does not justify the cost or the logistics. The 2018 team applied for excavation permits to clear the deliberate collapse zone. As of right now, those permits remain in bureaucratic review. They have been in review for years, so this is where the trail stops. The Sumerian tablet K.3657 describes a real location. The geographical clues lead to the Fergana Valley, and specifically the Kani Gut cave system. Archaeological evidence confirms Sumerian presence in the region. Genetic evidence shows sustained contact between Mesopotamian and Central Asian populations across thousands of years. Soviet exploration in the 1960s found something significant enough to classify and seal. Modern attempts to investigate further have been blocked, delayed, or quietly buried. Behind the deliberate stone wall, somewhere past the 800-meter mark of cuneiform warnings, past the chamber where Yelyanenko's team aimed their sonar into a void that refused to be measured, sits whatever the Soviets did not want anyone to see. The void Yelyanenko's team detected is still there. It has been there for 40,000 years. It will be there next year. The wall the 2018 team found is still standing. The stones are still placed. The radar still reads continuation on the other side. Hundreds of meters of unmapped passage, maybe more, maybe much more. The sonar that failed in 1967 has never been replaced with newer equipment because the cave has never been reopened. The caves remain sealed. The permits remain pending. The Kaiseljar villagers will gather at the cave entrance again this summer and recite words they do not understand to a place beneath their mountain. The tablet sits in its vault. The coordinates still accurate. The warnings still relevant. The arrow still pointing at the same mountain it has been pointing at for 4,000 years. What do you think is behind the wall they placed to keep us out? Drop it in the comments. If you want to see what we cover next, an Egyptian site that has been giving archaeologists the same impossible problems since 1850, hit subscribe so it shows up in your feed when it drops.